For the shawarma meat here, I've got 850 grams of minced meat, 3 tablespoons room temperature milk, 3 tablespoons of room temperature thick yogurt, 2 tablespoons of garlic paste, half tablespoon Kashmiri Red Chilli, half teaspoon Garam Masala powder, half teaspoon Paprika Powder, quarter teaspoon Cardamom Powder, half teaspoon of pepper powder, salt as per taste. I'm using these spices to marinate my minced mutton, but you can use the spices of your choice. Here what I've done is I've got 150 grams of onion. This is about one medium-sized onion. I blended this onion and I will just be using the water from this onion. So I placed the blended onion in the strainer and I've squeezed the water out from it and let it strain. Here I've got 3 sprigs of thyme, but if you don't want to use thyme, you can skip that as well, and you can use rosemary or any herb of your choice. So let's start marinating this mutton mince. We need to marinate this for a minimum of at least 4 hours, but marinating it overnight would be amazing. So let's start marinating the meat. What I've done is I've washed this meat with vinegar and strained the vinegar and the water out from this meat dry. Now I'll add in all my dry spices as well as milk, yogurt, garlic paste, onion water, and let's start mixing everything together well. Now if you don't want to use minced meat, you can always use chicken pieces or even mutton, chopped mutton. It's up to you. Now I'll just add in my sprigs of thyme. Mix everything well. Now at this point of time, if you think the spices are not enough in the mincemeat, you can most certainly add more according to your taste or your liking. What I'll do first is I'll keep this in my fridge for at least 3 to 4 hours, and then after that I will be placing it in my freezer till it actually freezes, probably for at least 8 hours before using it for my shawarma recipe. So before I place my prepared minced meat in the fridge, what I'll do is I've taken a sheet of wax paper. If you have parchment paper, I've placed it over this chopping board of mine, but if you have a flat tray, even that will work. So what I'm going to do is first I'm going to butter this parchment paper that I have here, and I will be placing my prepared minced meat on this. I will be flattening it like a big flat cutlet or burger, but thin, so that when I'm frying it as a shawarma meat, you know, when they fry shawarma meat, there's thin shavings of meat. So I want to get that effect for my recipe. So what I'll do is I'll take my shawarma meat and I'll just start flattening it on my wax paper. The reason I've placed butter also here is so after I place it in the fridge and then I'll directly place it in the freezer, it will be easy for me to remove it from this wax paper. So I want to flatten this minced meat as thin as possible. So when it gets frozen, what I'm going to do, I'm going to take a knife and just cut into nice thin strips and fry them on my frying pan. This is an easy method to do when you're trying to replicate a shawarma recipe at home. So basically I'm just trying to make it as thin as possible from all sides. Just make sure it's thin so that when you're frying it, it gets evenly cooked and the meat is not raw after it's fried. I've got another sheet of wax paper, of parchment paper or wax paper, whatever you have. I'll butter that up to here. Put a generous amount of butter, and what I'll do is I'll just cover this side. So when I'm removing it from my freezer, it's easy for me to remove it. It's easy for me to remove the minced meat like that. So what I'm going to do, I have the rest of the minced meat here. I will be making layers and repeating the process. Now what I'll do is I will prepare my second sheet of the meat. So I'm just removing this and keeping aside with the chopping board that I've used earlier. Now I'm using another chopping board and following the same process. And just make sure to crimp the corners and just close it up so no moisture from the fridge or freezer gets into it. This is the frozen shawarma meat which we prepared. I kept this for actually 24 hours in my freezer, and because of the butter that I applied over this parchment paper, now it's easy for me to remove it from the paper. So what I'll do is I'll turn it around and remove the other side as well. See how easy it is to remove. Now sometimes if you find it difficult to remove, then what you need to do, keep this meat out for at least 5 minutes before removing the parchment paper. I'll cut this marinated meat into strips for frying. Carefully cut it with a knife. Now to a warm pan, add butter. I'm using butter because ideally the shawarma meat has a lot of fat. In the commercial joints where we get shawarma from, they use a lot of natural fat of the meat. I don't have that at home, so I'm going to use butter in place of that fat. So I'm using a generous amount of butter to fry my meat. And my flame is currently on low to medium. Do not keep your flame high, because if you keep your flame high, then your meat will not cook properly. Cook this till the meat is tender and done. You can see the original liquid from this meat is drying off. I'll just flip this meat again. So one side is already browning well. Now I'm going to flip it so both sides of the meat pieces brown well. This shawarma meat is ready. Now I'll place it in a plate and I will use it to fill up my homemade pita bread. For garlic sauce, we need 1 cup of vegetable oil. Here I've got 9 cloves of garlic peeled. 1 egg should be at room temperature. I will only be using the egg white of this egg 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and 1 tablespoon of lemon juice. So what the lemon juice does is it actually cuts the flavor of the egg in this recipe. So let's start making our garlic sauce. For this recipe, I will be using a thin nozzle bottle because we need to pour the oil very slowly, and it should be in a thin dropping consistency. If we pour the oil very fast, then the oil and the garlic can split. So now first let's start separating the egg yolk from the egg white. So I'll just use the shell to separate the egg yolk from the egg white. And we won't be using this egg yolk at all. So this is our egg white. Now let's start making our garlic sauce. To my blender, I'm adding in garlic cloves. What I'll do is I'll start blending it a bit. Now I will add lemon juice and salt. Blending it again. Remember to scrape off the garlic from the edges of the jar and continue blending. I will start introducing the oil once I've added the salt and the lemon to the garlic. So let's start adding oil. While adding the oil, also check in between how it's going. Everything needs to be well mixed. Continue blending. You can see it's coming together slowly. So we'll add more oil. Continue blending. Check again. Now we'll add in our egg white. Continue blending. Let's check it finally, and you can see it's ready. It's well emulsified. It's like mayonnaise. We are looking for a texture like mayonnaise, and it's perfect for any recipe that you would like to have it with. You can see how beautifully this garlic sauce has come together. Now see, when I even turn my spoon around, it's not dropping. This is what we are looking at, a perfect consistency. Here I used around 175 ml of vegetable oil. So originally I kept 250 ml because sometimes you might need more oil, sometimes you might need lesser oil. So it depends on how quick your garlic sauce comes together while emulsifying it with the egg white and the rest of the ingredients. So now I will be using this garlic sauce. To make onion salad, here I've taken one red onion and chopped it lengthwise in semicircles. So I've got one red onion here. I've got around 3 tablespoons of cilantro leaves chopped. If you want, you can use dill leaves or any herb of your choice. Here I've got a teaspoon of sumac, and I've got olive oil. So what I'll do is first I'll separate the onion slices nicely, and if you find these pieces as chunks, just remove them. You can use it in something else. Now I'll add in the olive oil. I'll be adding in around 2 to 3 tablespoons depending on the quantity of these onions. Mix everything well. I'm not adding salt to these onions because salt releases moisture and I don't want any moisture to be released from these onions. And now I'll be adding in sumac. Now if you do not have sumac, you can use any spice of your choice. You can use even pepper, you can use paprika, you can use red chili powder, whatever you like. So this is a simple onion salad which we can use it for our shawarma. What I'll do is I will just keep this aside for half an hour in the fridge before using it. To make yogurt dip, here I've got 1 cup of yogurt. This is a bit thick yogurt. Here I've got salt as per taste, half teaspoon of paprika powder. I've got 1 cucumber which I've peeled, and say around 2 tablespoons of cilantro leaves. If you have dill leaves, you can most certainly use that. Plus I have here some pepper powder. So first thing first is I will be grating this cucumber and into a strainer because I want this cucumber to leave its water before adding it to the yogurt. So I'll start grating the cucumber. Be careful while grating this cucumber. Now what I'll do is I will wait for this cucumber water to strain from this strainer. I don't want to add any moisture to my yogurt, and here I will be adding some salt. Salt helps to release the moisture from these grated cucumbers. What I'll do is I'll just mix everything together and I will leave it like this for at least 10 to 15 minutes. It's been around 10 minutes, so I'm just trying to press the cucumber so that whatever moisture is there, it just strains off from this mini sieve. So I don't want this cucumber water at all in my yogurt. Now this is good to go. So what I'll do is I'll add this cucumber to my yogurt here. I've just whisked this yogurt a bit, and now I'll add my cucumber. Now at this point of time you can taste for the salt because I've already added salt to the cucumber. You need to taste if you need extra salt or not. I'll also add in paprika powder as well as my cilantro leaves. If you have dill leaves, you can use dill leaves. If you have mint leaves, you can use mint leaves. So just give it a good stir. Also I'm adding in my pepper powder, freshly crushed pepper. This yogurt dip, you need to place it in your fridge for at least an hour or 2 before serving it along with your meals. So I'll cover this and place it in my fridge for at least a few hours. To assemble the shawarma, I will be using my homemade pita bread. For the recipe of my homemade pita bread, please click on the link mentioned in the description box below. So let's start assembling. Let's make a shawarma wrap. To do that, I'm going to cut my homemade pita bread into half with the scissors. And this is my shawarma wrap pocket, my pita pocket. You can see how nicely it's cooked. Let's start filling the pita pocket with all our prepared ingredients. Shawarma wrap is ready to serve. Please like, share and subscribe to my channel. Please click on the bell icon for notification of my latest videos. And thank you for watching. Enjoy!